All right, so welcome to whatever we are calling this. I haven't figured it out. I haven't figured out a name for it, but this is doesn't matter what number it is. This is our interview, our sit down with Raptor Zero 034 whole name, or just Raptor Zero. Uh, call him Raptor, call him Raptor Zero. I'm not gonna say a real name, but I'd make the joke never call him, the the shorter version. But yeah, I think I made that in the first podcast. But anyway, so these are kind of informal. These I wanted to do more of deep dives with people who are included in the podcast or might be included in the podcast future on the regular. I feel especially for you and Liz and a couple other people might, enjoy being in them more, I guess is the best way to put it. So I figured I'd give people kind of insight to who you are a little bit and just kind of, that's it. Basically just a little bit more information on you. Pull up my questions because I restarted my computer. It's gonna pop up on the window. Oh, good. Pop up on the other one. So, before we start, is there anything you want to say or any kind of introduction you want or anything you want to add?
Sure. I think I mentioned part of this in the Overwatch video. Just been a gamer since I was like 3.5, playing with my mom on the Super Nintendo, Super Mario World.
Yeah.
Evolved from there to eventually discover the wonders of PC gaming and haven't gone back. However, I have bought a few consoles in my time, so I'm not opposed to kicking back and enjoying a good console game from now and then.
Yeah, I think most of us, it's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
It's like, there's this game I really want. Vibe. Exactly. Yeah, now on PC, it's all just frustration because we're all like, multiplayer games or these larger where you're against people who you're like, no, I'm better than you. I should be better than you at least. But no, again, this is informal, but I do have some questions we're going to start with, and then we can kind of go into anything like deep dive as far as that goes.
Fire away.
Yeah, so I guess the first question that we'll start with is, let's see, because since I wrote these all up, do you have a, favorite game at present?
That's an interesting question.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes. Okay. I'm going to say Bloodborne is my favorite game.
Okay.
And part of that is why I'm going to say be hesitant on that. Mm-hmm. A lot of what I enjoy of Bloodborne is outside of the game.
Okay.
So
elaborate.
I've played it through 3 times. I watched a playthrough of it when I was blind, but then decided to stop to give it a chance. Mm-hmm. Bought a PlayStation 4 Pro just to play it, and then absolutely fell in love with it. So I played it all the way through the first time without knowing much of it, what was going on.
So then watched. This is when you literally were like, hey, I'm probably not going to play since it's on PlayStation. And as you watched it, you were like, this game looks fun. And so you decided to pick up a PlayStation and the game, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
I just recently played through Dark Souls 1, Scholar of the First Sin, and 3. So it seemed like the good time to get into the other From Software games.
Okay. And it's because you played all the other ones, correct?
Yes.
And if I'm, I might be misremembering, but I think you enjoyed 1, you enjoyed 3, and 2. You usually skip if you replay them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I started with Scholar of the First Sin, which is the newest all DLCs version, where they added extra enemies and they changed the placement around. And I don't feel that Scholar of the First Sin is as enjoyable as original Dark Souls 2, which I've never played, but I've read a lot of forums on it, and I've talked to Hunter about it and things. Where the original Dark Souls 2 game on its own is quite good.
Okay,
but the Scholar version, which is supposed to be for people who've already played it, is harder and is not as easy to get into.
So okay, that's fair.
It was fine on its own. It's just not as good as the others. So that's
honest, fair. Okay.
But the other part of enjoying Bloodborne though is the lore.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, the lore. There is a write-up by a creator named Redgrave. You can actually you can find it on YouTube and on PDFs throughout the internet. It's a 5.5 hour video essay that just talks about the lore and doesn't even deep dive. Like, it is surface level. And I listen to it all the time. I've talked to a great number of people about it. Like, that the lore in that game is infinite and open to interpretation. Okay. So I've fallen in love with it.
That literally answers another question, but it was basically, what about the game makes you, enjoy it so much? So, like I said, I didn't mention, this might end up being a 2-part series for Raptor because he is very passionate about the things, like most people are in our group, and I don't mind it. So it's one of those things where you might get, a little bit extra. But so with that in mind, I guess the next thing we can go to is, as far as gaming goes, what would you say is your favorite, best way to put it, magical system, or just kind of magical is probably the best way to put it, but just kind of how the mechanics of the the world of the game works. So where it'd be the skill points, or it'd be how they explain the actual world itself. If does that make sense?
It does. That's a tough one, honestly. I've played a lot of RPGs, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, all those where you have a whole lot of mechanics and skills.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the smoothest implementation of all that is actually a game I played kind of recently called Ghost Runner.
Okay.
It's a speed-based reflex game. So it has FPS mechanics, but it's majoritively a melee game.
Okay.
But you get to choose how you use your skills based on a Tetris format. So your skills take up a certain amount of blocks in a certain format, and how you place them in your available grid determines what you can use.
Okay.
So it's really straightforward. There's no misunderstanding what it's going to do. It is obvious when you get it, and it's clear when it works. But because everything is so clear, you really get to prioritize. Now, they still level that stuff out. You don't get all your skills up front. So as you go, you unlock more space and you get the new abilities, but it also expands the room you have to reorganize those abilities. So in each level, you always know what you have equipped, even if you chose it yourself, and even if you didn't use all of the available spaces. But because you made it work, you feel like you have a really in-depth knowledge of how you're about to go forward, what skills you have, the cooldowns, all of that. So it's really fluid.
Okay, so it's the fluidity of it. Like, largely, I know it's just other stuff, but you just like how fluid it is when you're using it, I guess.
That game is very clean. It's only like 4 to 7 hours long.
Okay, but
it is high-end graphics. It's very beautiful.
Okay.
It's quite good.
That's fair. So as far as games go, then you said your first ones were playing, with your mom's Super Nintendo, right? Which game was it?
Yes, it was Super Mario World.
Super Mario World. Okay, I remember that one.
Yoshi. She wasn't working at the time. Yes, so she'd wake me up at like 1 a.m. and say, "I've made it to a new world. Come see!" And I'd have to run out and see what she did. It was great.
Yeah,
it was good times.
Okay. Yeah. Did you guys? Was that kind of like a bonding thing for you guys then, or just being able to do that together?
Without her wanting to get into it, I don't know if I ever would have owned a system. So
okay, that's awesome.
She bought it for herself.
Yeah,
and then I enjoyed it. And then we started playing co-op. So yeah, it evolved from there, and I eventually got my own N64. My grandmother got for me, so it went from there. But yeah,
because that one was you had to do you started down below in the, I forget which one it is, but you had to unlock the blocks, and the first one was green, I think. Or was it yellow?
First one was yellow.
Okay, It was the yellow one, yeah. Yep. And those were the mushrooms, and then the green was feathers, I think. So.
And you got, so you do the little power palaces to open up the blocks, but you can complete the land without them. It's just harder.
Yeah,
definitely. But then you also got the ghost houses and the secrets, and then you've got the whole Star World system. No, it's a great game.
That was definitely one I played. I think I played that one with my one of my older sisters, and she had that at her house all the time because she lived with my dad and I lived with my mom. But yeah, she had that. She had Mario Paint, and that's kind of, I was into games already, but those really got me into it too. So that's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah, Super Mario World. That's pretty cool.
But think about it from a gameplay mechanic. It's an almost no-hit game though, because even if you get a mushroom, like you only get 2 or 3 hits before you're dead.
Oh yeah.
Like it's very punishing, and you're supposed to explore.
Yeah.
But it's also as fast paced as you want it to be. The world record speedruns are really fast.
I was gonna say, speedruns have proved to you,
so cool.
You have to do very little in those games if you choose to.
You just use you can fly over most of them, yeah.
Yeah. I know there's a couple levels later where they discourage flying by whether it be like the things that rotate around or just something where
pipes in the top.
Yeah, where you run, you're like, mother, because just gliding around, you're like, nope, screw this level. Okay.
Yep. My mom trying to explain to me how to glide, to hold backwards and tap it. Oh my god, it took forever. I just did not pick it up.
It's like what? What? That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
And I still to this day have never used the dive bomb mechanic ever.
Oh really?
Like ever. When does it come in handy? You'd have to already be flying to use it. I don't know. Whatever.
It's just fun. That's fair.
It's too much pre-planning for me.
Okay. I guess so. For video games, still, what would you say is your least favorite kind of world mechanic? I guess, or just magical system in a game?
Least favorite spread. Bullet spread.
Oh, just okay.
Because it's magic bullshit.
Okay, sorry.
If I get to aim, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say what game? I guess. Yeah. Do you have a game? Because I know over the years you've had several games where you're just like, that's stupid. That doesn't make sense. And
there are a lot of things I don't like, though. Yeah. That's not. Honestly, I don't know if I have one off the top of my head. No.
Okay. But so
I rage against a lot of things.
But bullet spread in games is what you is.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't have the reactions to edit my control in real time. When you can not only drag down, but also left and right, or it bounces up, or whatever. Just screw that. No, all that. No.
So Counter-Strike 1.6 is where I learned about stuff like that, and I'm an old man now, so it's I'm not nearly as accurate as I used to be. But yeah, it was one of the things you learned about real quick because you're like, you tried to hold down the gun, and it's like, especially with a gun like a AK in those games. So yeah.
But at that point, your accuracy is almost irrelevant. Yeah. You can still one-tap people, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you're fighting one person, as long as you've got the first shot lined up most of the time, you're fine. It's when there's multiple people and you can't just hold down and hope that it hits a ball in the head. You've kind of got to readjust for everything. So I get the bullet spread because I know one of the games that you Rainbow Six Siege was one of the realism of it is you enjoyed the fact that if you shot somebody in the head, they died. It wasn't just, they took 40 damage and, they had to shoot them 3 more times in the head because the game's like, well, headshots aren't insta-kills. And you're like, the fuck they aren't.
Pretty much. It's skill and reactions. Yeah. That's pure, yes. Yeah, and in that game, the environment is so interactable. You can make advantages even when you're in a bad place.
So yeah, there was a level on that one that was the house, and I know I hated it because there was a peak point where if you played Doc, I think it was
correct. You could have the HCOG.
Yeah, you could have the HCOG, and I couldn't see the person, but they were like in this trap door shooting outside and just headshot, and I'm just like, excuse you? No, absolutely not. Yep. And it was
as an attacker, you don't even have a scope that can see him back easily. So yeah,
that's the thing. Yep. Yeah, nope. So it was the most frustrating thing when I played that game, and it was just like, all right, just don't ever go that way again, I guess.
Siege has its own problems with spawn peeking and team killing and everything else. Yes,
the team killing in Siege frustrating. The toxicity in Siege equivalent to most online games, to be honest.
Worse for me, but
yeah, like there were a lot of. So the thing I think we just spoke about this, so we did appreciate in Siege was the banning, and even though it might not have been against us at the time, just it was felt cathartic seeing someone like, hey, so and so has been banned, and it was literally just a feed on the I think somewhere on the screen at the bottom when you're in the screen for the next.
It's in the main menu.
Yeah. So when it's just like so and so has been banned, so and so's been, you're like, yeah, get them. You don't even know the person.
I'll never see them today. I won't see them today. Yeah. But
hopefully ever, unless they make a new account. Like that was back when it cost to play the game, so less people were inclined to.
Yeah, you would hope.
Yeah, well, that's true because people do stuff just to be toxic, extremely toxic about it. But it's whatever. I guess do you have we didn't specify earlier, but we know your favorite game is Bloodborne, or one of your favorite games is Bloodborne. Do you have a favorite multiplayer game, or have you had one in the past that you enjoyed? If it's Siege, that's fine. If it's something else,
I don't know how to judge. I've played a lot of 2-person co-op, like puzzle platformer types.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's fine too. Yeah, those too.
We've also done Destiny, PUBG, Apex, all those. So a favorite, probably our Destiny time at maximum people with the full
when we
raid
actually
group
had,
and everybody
yeah,
farming. Yes,
when we had
that was
people,
probably the best.
yeah.
But
Sorry.
that game's a constant grind, so I was never able to enjoy it as much as I could have because I always wanted us to achieve more and more. So even though we got the raid done and everything, but not everybody got the exotic we were after, so we had to do it again. Yeah. And then you had to wait a week because people weren't around and everybody had to farm. And so just like, yes,
yeah,
it was work, but at its best.
Anarchy was rough, but
yeah,
that because I think everyone got it. People got it twice before I did, and it's funny because
I had many.
I had started playing the game, and I convinced like a large amount of our server to start playing, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going for at this point because I've done most of the game solo at that point, like everything that I could as a solo player. I even had you help me jump in. I think you were just standing at the door at one point so I can have a respawn point. Yeah. And that one was fun, but if I remember correctly, one of your favorite was the Outbreak Perfected. I think that's when you played the game the most because you enjoyed
0 hour.
0 hour, yeah. You somewhat enjoyed, I believe, the mission or at least the mechanics of it, and you had it down. And
speedrunning of it was wonderful.
It was essentially a 20-minute mission where everyone was like, hey, this is a pain in the ass. It takes forever to get through. And you're like, yeah, I'll do it. And it was essentially, the Raptor carry service because it's like, hey, do you want to? Yeah. Drop everything he's doing and run the mission. Because it was 20 minutes. You had to complete the whole thing in 20 minutes. And if you didn't, you got kicked to orbit. And there were like, I think one boss in the middle somewhere. And then it was just a lot of platforming. Because it
depends. Are the huge shanks a boss?
Yeah, it's not a boss, but one little kind of, the pain in the ass tank and then the shanks. So, but it was time.
You also have to match all of your elements.
It was when shield matching was a thing. Yeah. So
man, it was intense. Yeah.
It was, and I enjoyed doing it for the most part. But I think they were it was the carry service where everyone was like, yeah, Raptor likes doing it. And I think at some point you were just waiting for people to ask you, like, who needs it this week?
Yeah.
because
I just get to the end and start working on the boss while people are still running through the puzzles.
Yeah, I think you make it through, like, with half the time left and, like, everything's activated. It could go into
they show up just to Nova Bomb the boss,
yeah. And it worked, because, like I said, you enjoyed it, they enjoyed it, or they enjoyed getting the weapon. And
they enjoyed never doing it again.
Yeah. Well, until they had to get the, what is it? The catalyst, I think. Yeah, and then you have to run it like 4 times. So that was funny.
I don't know how many I ended up doing, but it was a lot.
It was a lot. I'd have to look for it, but I know you did a lot of runs. But so
and especially because we had a lot of failed runs. Mm-hmm. So take 20 minutes there that didn't go, and you still had to do it again.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah,
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay. So for you, you are like a lot of people in the Void right now, or the core group of the Void. You started off, I think we went into this with the Overwatch podcast, where you were an original Overwatch player. It was you and I think at least 7. No, there's probably like 8 others, but basically Overwatch is the game we all kind of met in. And maybe this was explained in the Overwatch podcast, but I'm going to ask you again anyway. I guess what got you into Overwatch? Was it Mr. Anderson that was playing at the time, or was it someone specific?
Yes, Mr. Anderson LP. On Twitch and YouTube. He was playing it, and it was just super chaos. Like, if you don't know anything about Overwatch to start, and you've never played that type of FPS game before, he had on ultra settings, and it was like neon lights flashing everywhere. And then there's like, he can hear so-and-so's, sound effect, and he knew who that was and what it meant. And I'm like, that's so cool, because he was playing with a group of people at the time.
Yeah.
And hearing them play in a group setting really made me want to reach out and find a group of people online. At that point, I had just moved. I played through Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim back-to-back. Mm-hmm. I then did Fallout 3 and New Vegas back-to-back. So I was hundreds and hundreds of hours into single-player games only.
Yeah.
And I just moved down to where I had good internet. So I was like, this is it. This is what I'm lacking. I want a group of core people to play with all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I started just saying, hey, I'm a Zenyatta. I've got a mic.
Yeah.
I can heal and I can damage. I'm here whenever you want to play from 4:30 to midnight. Let's go. Eastern Standard Time. Hit me up. Let's go.
Okay.
And so I just started spamming my tag and talking to everybody in chat. And eventually I ran into, I don't even know who the first contact was, to be honest.
Yeah, I was a bit
I remember specifically when I met you.
Yeah.
Because it was on a Volskaya Defense.
Yeah.
And you were playing Reaper.
Yeah.
And you would be off on the right side there over by the water, and they had a May who kept trying to go across.
Yeah.
And you just shut her down every time.
Yeah.
And so as a healer, I see you over through the walls, and I'm like, oh shit, oh no, he's getting in a fight. And then he walks back over for healing. I give him an orb, and he walks back over. It was great. I didn't have to worry about anything. You were self-sufficient, and you knew what to do. And so that was just, I knew instantly, hey, if you want to join up.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, because I think it was you. And it was just like, just a random. I was like, oh, cool, people. And I played online with people. It was, again, Counter-Strike, but it's as difficult as your personality allows it to be to make friends. Like, if you're a person who doesn't mind going, like, wading through a lot of the bullshit of people, like the toxicity, and then just kind of feeling people out, then you'll make friends easy. But for me, it's like, if I, the wrong kind of vibe, I'm instantly out. I'm like, I don't really want to hang with you, which is why even some of our friends today, I probably would have never met if it wasn't for them being other friends of people. And they're cool people, and don't get me wrong. It's just, I have a very low tolerance for just kind of, toxic nature towards people you don't know, like, randomly, you know what I mean? Like, it's one thing if you're
on face value.
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing if you're raging on, your side of the screen, but you're not putting that out into the, the game environment. Because we do that all the time. Like, fuck you, you're shit. Or it is what it is. And it's like, my feelings don't get hurt about it, but I just don't want to have to deal with that kind of toxic nature all the time. So I take it, face value, like you said. So, but so Overwatch was the one, and I believe you found that for a while. Well, for the first year or two, right? Is you kind of found, well, you found just the people willing to play a lot. It was just the people who were willing to play, I guess, in a more competitive sense.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
We started off with a group of maybe like 20 people who would sub in and out.
Yeah.
Because people would have things to do, lives, I've heard of them, but they're apparently huge scheduling conflicts. So anyway, people would go in and out, and we'd make groups to play all the time. But the longer and longer you played quick play, the more people wanted to play competitively.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I got into competitive play, I never went back.
Yeah. Well, you did
because now it's a skill test.
Yeah.
Like, now, why would I ever play quick play if we had a group that could do better in competitive?
Yeah.
And that's where it finally broke down. Our group was not a good competitive group together.
No.
And our scheduling conflicts did not work out as much as I'd like to.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was interesting. The one point we tried the tournament, and that just fell apart after, I think, week 2 or 3. Yeah, you were frustrated, but we all were. But it was one of those things. But I knew it wasn't going to work. We are the people. We know our friends. We know ourselves. I think you and Liz are probably the most kind of adhere to schedules, like the best between the people in our group. And there's
definitely,
I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not gonna say like I'm up there with you guys. Like, most of the time, if I schedule something or if it's something support, I'll try to make it. But I do indeed sometimes be like, oh, I can't make it anymore, or just don't. I lose interest.
People have lives.
Exactly. I don't blame anyone, but it's just a certain mentality where you're looking forward to something, you've invested this, and then if someone's just like, never mind. It's like,
what? That was also part of the Destiny breakdown.
Yeah.
With the raid group and everything, where I have to farm mostly by myself. That wasn't the case for a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Just to be able to do something and then still not be able to do it was frustrating.
Yeah, because we had a schedule. Well,
Suki and I were with you for
a
long time.
For a year at least. And then
time.
It was just more so than it was the groups were inconsistent. Like, they had a raid night, but it was like, would you get to play or would you have to, wait till next week? So I know there was a lot involved in that. So it's unfortunate. But
plus, at the time, my internet was terrible. So
that's true. Yeah,
it didn't help either.
Unfortunately, a lot of the games we play, it turns into that. It turns into where, it's highly sought after. It's highly played at the beginning for our group. And then people start to play less and less, and that becomes frustrating with games that require more than 1 or 2 people, because it's like
level attention, right?
Yeah, it's like, I invested in this game, I spent X amount of hours, and then everyone just stopped. And I know you kind of have the policy, which is it's a bit annoying at times, but
it's never paid off.
Yeah, it's always where you're like, well, yeah, you guys play for a year, and then I'll play, and then it's like 2 months later, it's, oh, what's the new game? So I don't blame you. Like, I
New World, Lost Ark.
I give you shit for it, but I can't blame you, because after like the amount of games, especially if you're interested, you're invested, and then people just stop playing. Yeah, I get that. But anyway, we won't. This is not really to complain. It's just kind of the dynamic of our group. We all have our kind of shortcomings. It's no one man, or woman, whatever.
It takes all types, and I enjoy everybody we have.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why we're all still here. Like, even when Overwatch broke down, our group stayed together. We play games here and there. We watch people play games. It's still the people that bring us there. It's just, I get the idea of not wanting to invest hundreds of hours and then be like all of a sudden stop. Because that's what was New World, like you said. I was freaking just farming. Yeah. Farming, I think, what is it? Iron and stuff. And then it stopped. That's more a New World, though. They fucking destroyed their own economy in a week.
A game based on Amazon didn't what?
Yeah, they didn't know how economy works. Crazy. All right. So next question for you, though, is it's a random one, but it's kind of to break stuff up, or a couple random ones. What would you say? I know, but what would you say your favorite color is for the people at home?
Orange.
Orange, okay.
As judged by there.
Yeah, I was looking up there. In the chair, yeah. Your fancy chair.
Computer back here.
Yeah, your fancy chair that's not falling apart like mine's is.
Well, not on the top. It is on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. RaptorZero here.
Yeah, I couldn't get that with my extra large one, or else I would have gotten my name. I was kind of sad about that.
I'm due for a new chair, so we'll see how the Secret Lab treats us next time.
I was telling Jess that I'm probably gonna get a new chair sooner than later, because mine makes like this loud clinking or creaking noise whenever I turn. Yep. Not to mention it's torn apart, but yeah, it's just like clunk clunk, and I'm like, mother. And it's
stop it. Yeah,
it's annoying because it's like I know everyone can't hear it, but it's still. I don't know if it's a self-conscious thing. And then she told me the other day that I was like, how dare you keep tabs on me? Because she was telling me that that's how her and Smiles used to know I was coming out of the room, because it would mainly make the noise when I got up or something. And I'm like, so you just been essentially keeping tabs on me by the sound of my chair? What kind of shit is this?
Clever. Very clever.
Yeah, I was like, well, the dog's smart enough because he knows when I'm coming out of the room, but I didn't know she paid attention to that much. But she probably saw every time he went, like, made that loud ass noise. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I need a new chair. Fuck that chair.
Keeping tabs. Yeah. That's right.
Well, now it makes it all the time. So I'm like, haha. Because
now you don't know if I'm leaving or not.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm just turning. All right.
Nice.
Yeah. But so do you have, like, it's one of those fluff questions. Do you have a favorite animal or a favorite mythical animal even? Like you would say, or I don't know if you have a family crest, but if you made your own crest or something you'd put on there, like you'd be like, yeah, this is my sigil or whatever.
We do have a family crest. However, it's a tree stump with a sprout growing out of it.
Okay.
And our motto is we will return, because in Scotland, we were constantly at war with people, and they'd kill us a lot and we'd kill them a lot, but we always came back. So apparently the proud tree stump with the sapling growing out of it is a triumphant message. So
I guess you cut them down, but yeah, it still grows back.
We keep coming back, yeah. But we went with a tree instead of like a bush or a shrub or a weed. So I'm glad we did that.
Yeah, trees
exactly. I'm glad we did that.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a whole lot of strong growing trees in Scotland, so I don't know where they thought we were.
They're just like,
but
doesn't
we'll
matter.
just go with the tree stump. Yeah.
Well, so you do
so that's what it is.
Okay.
But I don't know what my own would be.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, that's where the animal thing from. Usually when people think like a favorite animal or something, they're like, hey, what would you use it on? And a lot of people are like, yeah, I'd use it on a crest or like a family crest. But that's cool. I didn't know yours was, we will return. That's, that's pretty badass in 3 words.
It also means we get cut down a lot, though.
I mean, there's that, but
yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like most people, it's funny, you can relate it to Luffy in One Piece. Like, he's going to keep coming back and he's just going to wear his enemy down. Like, he gets beat.
It's the Dark Souls and Bloodborne, everything. Yeah, you keep dying, but I keep coming back to get you.
So either I'm going to win eventually, you're going to give up. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I win either way.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite show?
One Foot in the Grave. It's a British comedy.
Okay.
It was 90s into 2000s. It's over now. 6 seasons with special editions and holiday specials and stuff.
Okay.
It is really dry, dark British humor. So it's not for everybody.
Okay.
But here's an example of why I like it. You can have an episode that is entirely a monologue from one character just sitting in his living room. Or another one where it's just the character sitting up in bed talking to himself. Like that kind of thing. You can take the most dry, basic scenario and make it so engaging and relatable that you don't even realize an entire episode's gone by.
Okay.
So it's very episodic. It's, you have recurring characters, you have recurring themes. Okay. It starts off with an older gentleman named Victor Meldrew who just got retired. Okay. And it's him transitioning into retired life, where all the things that used to annoy him, his neighbors and the having to mow the lawn when it's going to rain, is now the most pressing thing in his life. Yeah, and that resonates with me so much. Mm-hmm. But my whole family loves it. My dad's watched all of them. My sister's watched all of them. I've had my best friends watch it. Like, they all enjoy it. If you're familiar with the Mr. Bean series, it's
I know who he is.
Another British comedy, but it's more physical comedy.
Yeah,
I relate it to that. But again, this doesn't need the over-the-top comedy. They'll set up a joke in the very first minutes of the episode, and it will not come to an end until the end. Because you have to remember it. It's deeper than just, I slipped and fell on a banana peel. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I really enjoy it. It's really good.
Return on investment. It's okay.
Yes. It's actually good writing.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah. So as far as that goes, do you have aside from that, do you have a favorite movie then too? Or do you just kind of enjoy certain ones or certain genres?
I'm a bit of a creature of habit. Mm-hmm. So I have a playlist that I go-to movies, to say. If I just want to listen to something in the background. Mm-hmm. But my two, I'll give two just to be clear, because I've never tallied it.
Yeah.
The Blues Brothers and Shaun of the Dead. Those would be my two go-tos over anything else.
Shaun of the Dead is a very good movie.
Yes.
Okay, Blues Brothers, I don't think I've seen its entirety. I know I've seen parts of it. I know I've seen Blues Brothers 2000 because that was when I was younger and it was on TV.
Not as good, but yes. Yeah.
But no, I have not seen the entirety of the original. I've seen, because this is back when it was more so I caught them when they came on TV, cable TV, where you can just, you basically either had to be there when it started or you weren't going to catch the whole thing, so...
And I got it on VHS, so you know what era that was from.
Yep. Oh, God, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I don't know how many times I watched it on VHS,
Okay.
A lot.
All right, so Blues Brothers 2000. Shaun of the Dead is very good, and just the comedy in it. The whole, I guess, I'm not sure if it was called that, but the whole, I guess, Neapolitan saga or whatever from Edgar Wright, I think is the writer of all of those, because it was Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and World's End, or at World's, I think it was World's End, because that was the one where they were.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay, so that was the third one, because it was supposed to be essentially, one of each flavor or whatever. But out of those three, Shaun of the Dead is excellent. For me, Hot Fuzz was just it, and it I don't know why. I know because everyone's usually like, really? I'm like, yeah, that was just my favorite out of the three. I'm not Shaun of the Dead extremely good, but Hot Fuzz got me like through all the.
I saw Hot Fuzz after.
Okay.
So I think I was already biased by liking the characters and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed Hot Fuzz too. It's not as repetitive. I couldn't watch it back to back.
Okay. Yeah, it was probably just because of the nature. Like I had watched more of those kind of action movies or whatever, and so to see all the essential tropes and jokes against it, like, and then all of it to come into the later part of the movie, because one of my favorite memes and one of my favorite lines, or one of the favorite parts from that part, is when Raptor hates memes, by the way. But no, one of the favorite parts where he was talking about, what did he tell him? I can't remember. Oh, duh. It's supposed to be my favorite and I forget. It was essentially where Sean hit the large guy into the freezer, and then Nick Frost's character, he's all like, did you tell him to cool off? He's like, no. And he's like, shame. and then he says the whole line. He's like, well, there was a part later where I was fighting him. I threw the Cully monkey at him and I said, playtime's over. And I hit him in the head with a peace lily. And he's all like, you're off the fucking chain. And for me, like, I know it's not exactly, but that part gets me every time, because it's like,
that is your sense of humor. Yes, absolutely.
It's like, he's like, hit me in the head with a Cully monkey. I'm like, oh gosh, this is all great. So no, that's good stuff. that was one of my favorite part, and just the whole, just everything from when they start the action process all the way to the end, where they're doing every trope, jumping through the air with two guns, like explosions. They set it all up from the beginning, and I loved that it all paid off. So that's, I mean, I'm not saying it's not American, but it just feels like that's especially British humor. They're like, all right, this, and this. And like you said, your show, they're like, all right, so it all has to pay off. It's, and it all gets played out through the end. And I'm like, this is fantastic. So love it.
You get a lot of American TV and shows that don't return.
Oh, yeah. So, you're like, okay, so that's going to come into play later. Nope.
No.
Yep.
Which is an interesting one. The BBC's version of Sherlock, you'd think would follow that same thing, and it doesn't, though.
I still like it. I know you find it annoying, is frustrating.
I've watched some critiques on it, and it points out the things that are aggravating.
Have you ever watched the Closer Look one? They're like, why?
No.
I'll have to send it to you after this. I think it was one that I wanted to watch with you, but I was like, I don't know if I want to do this to myself, because forever will be referenced. Like, well, you sent me the video, but anyway, no, I'll send it to you after this.
Pick your battles.
Yeah, this is every part of life. So with knowing, those shows being your favorite and then those movies, we're gonna jump back and forth here a little bit. For genre, would you say you have a favorite genre of game?
Well, my two prevail. Well, that's not fair. No,
that's fair. Yeah,
I definitely prefer a good game regardless of the format.
Okay.
So there are definitely three basic categories I do tend towards, which are FPSs, RPGs, and puzzle platforms.
Okay.
Now that's most of gaming. I get that, but
it's like,
but those are what I do gravitate towards. So I don't know.
Okay. So
no, if I had to pick one, no.
Okay, that's fair. I guess out of those three, do you think you've played any one of them more?
RPGs because of the duration of the games.
Yeah, as soon as I said it, I was like,
hours on each one. Yeah.
As soon as I said, I was like, oh, that's right. Okay.
But number of games, probably FPSs at this point.
Yeah.
Overwatch was my first real FPS. I had played Half-Life and Opposing Forces, the originals, when it was terrible graphics.
Yeah.
But that was it. Overwatch is where I learned to shoot. And I feel like I've come a long way.
Oh, we all have, yeah.
That means I didn't learn until mid-2000s?
Yeah, 2000.
Yeah, so I have not been doing FPSs for long. But since that,
yeah,
I've done a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you played a couple, Tarkov and stuff that I never got to do. But, no, I think about that all the time, and as far as FPSs go, I didn't really play any besides Counter-Strike 1.6. Even when people were playing Black Ops, I played that a little bit with my nephew, but outside of that, I'm bad at controller aiming. I know there's adjustments and stuff, but it might just be my nature of things not doing exactly what I want, and then always being able to overshoot stuff when you're doing that if it's not. So anytime people are like, yeah, I used to play this, I'm like, yeah, I played a couple at friends' houses, or I played Halo with a couple friends, but Gears of War, but outside of that, I never really went and looked for them. I'm like, nope, I'm good. I suck at them. That's fine. I know.
Yep. My first intro to Halo was multiplayer at a friend's house, and they just destroyed me because I'd never played before. Yeah, so that's no fun. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Nope, I was fine with it, but I played a lot too. So we've done genres. So when it comes to your RPG games, I guess, do you know the game that you have put the most hours into in a single playthrough? And then in addition to that, do you know the game that you've put the most hours into in a single character? Like games that might have new game pluses, or, play the game again on a harder mode with the same character and all your skills?
You might have to stretch the genre a bit, I guess. But the most new game pluses I've ever been through was on Bloodborne.
Okay.
And that's only one. I've only ever done new game plus one. So
okay.
I don't tend to replay anything.
Okay.
The Mass Effect series is the most I've done doing 1, 2, and 3 with the same, in quotes, Shepherd. So I don't know how that counts.
Is that the one?
Because that'd be 90 hours for all 3.
Okay.
But Andromeda, I just finished at 105 hours, so that'd be the same character more.
Okay.
But Fallout New Vegas and 3 were both 200 hours, so how does that count? I don't know.
Does the Mass Effect let you use the same character? I thought it was you essentially get explode.
If you use the EA game feature, it lets you import your save from 1 to 2 to 3.
Oh,
that's
so that
now
counts.
Broken. Oh. It's broken, but they released Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which lets you do it.
Of course.
And through that, I've played through 1 and 2.
Yeah, you can.
So all total, I've played Mass Effect 1 twice, Mass Effect 2 twice, Mass Effect 3 twice, and then Mass Effect Legendary Edition 1 and 2 once.
Okay.
So I've played Mass Effects more than any other.
Okay, so but like when we're counting like a single character, then you've done it through 1, 2, and 3. So Mass Effect is probably the game you've played, put the most hours.
But by design,
yeah, but that's fine.
If it was a different character, that wouldn't count.
It wouldn't. But since they let you import, that technically counts.
And I did.
So. I was like, yeah, you're not cheating. Yeah,
but even still, are you looking at replays with that too? Because replaying all the Mass Effects would be more total hours than the Andromeda single playthrough.
No, just like same, just like play through once, like not just multiple times or anything. So you play a character and you played them through all 3, and then like if you play it again, that's fine. But you at that point you've started a new game unless you're doing Game Plus.
Then I think either Oblivion or Skyrim.
I was gonna ask, what about Skyrim?
Would be the highest.
Okay.
Either way, I'm just gonna ballpark that. Fallout 3, New Vegas, and Skyrim were all about 300 or 200 hours. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say Skyrim was a lot for me. I think I'm up there. All right, that's fair.
I made it through Morrowind Oblivion fast.
Fair enough.
Lots of FPS, lots of RPGs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the RPGs are fun. My problem is I always tend to my play style of RPGs is grind into like an essentially one shot the boss or do more than I should, and games are just more and more getting around that by making everything level with you, and I hate it. I'm
not a fan.
I hate it. 8 Final Fantasy. Well, I didn't hate 8. 8's a fun game. I've replayed it a couple times, but I did not enjoy that. But luckily with 8, you can still grind enough to like everything will level with you, but the power scaling is a little different because you start using junctioning properly, and you start using your magic, and you get better weapons. So at least you can actually overpower them at some point. You just can't out level them for the most part, which is fine. But no, it was the main
switch between Morrowind and Oblivion. In Morrowind, you could walk to the final boss, and whether you could beat him or not was up to you. But Oblivion had pre-leveled enemies on the map.
So you get
you'd walk up to one and you just could not beat them.
Yeah,
and I was not a fan of that. And you'd think on an intuitive level it'd be good, but it actually is just a cheap way of gating you from content.
Yeah, it's like, no, you're not supposed to be here yet. Yeah, back up.
Yeah,
I mean that's essentially what it is.
It's not skill at that point. It's literally they just have too much health or they have too much defense, and you can't beat them.
I think it's supposed to be you're supposed to have grinded or done other parts of the game before you're there, and maybe that's why people do like the scaling, because you can go through the game without doing all the side quests and everything. For me, I'm like, I like the gating because it gives me something to work towards. Like I can do repetitive things forever. Like in a game, I'll just sit there and battle or draw when it comes to 8. But yeah, it's just one of those things where being the power fantasy for me is always being able to, train or strengthen myself until the point where the current content doesn't matter as much. Like most of the time it still matters to an extent, because unless you're willing to, like the joke with South Park, where you're willing to kill level 3 boars, like millions of them, at some point the return is negligible. Like staying in a certain area, you're not going to get the levels as fast as you were before. So it's like, it's going to take you days, but it's kind of up to you. Okay.
I just recently played through Nier Replicant and Automata, and you run into the exact same thing there. You can farm the same little basic bots all day, but they get diminishing returns on leveling. However, they drop plug-in chips.
Okay.
And plug-in chips, like junctioning magic, are the upgrade materials, and they come in levels. So like you can get an optimized one or a really bad one.
Yeah.
So if you can farm the same enemy to get better stuff, it actually does still benefit you.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed it because those are story-driven games. The combat is just a method to get you through the story.
Yeah,
and so it really plays out that the combat's fun, but you can grind as much as you want, but it's not until you hit a story point that anything actually moves forward.
Okay.
So it's not like you can skip anything. You know what I mean?
You have to go
still
through the
have
story.
to play the story.
Yeah.
Right.
That's actually
But you get
cool
to choose how to grind if
Yeah.
you want to at all.
Yeah.
And it makes it really fun because you get to see what good design can get you. You're not gated from anything.
Yeah.
You could run through the whole game without leveling or grinding anything. But if you do, you will breeze through stuff.
Okay.
Like, it makes it so good. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, and to be clear, like, for anybody who's actually still listening to my rambling, Final 8 is Final Fantasy 8. So it's one of those things where I keep saying 8. I like use shorthand for everything because like we understand it, but yeah. Let's see. So a little bit outside of gaming and traditional media here. So to my recollection, and interject where need be, I don't think it's either you haven't flown in your adult life or you've never flown at all. Which one is it?
I have never been on a plane, but I've been in a helicopter.
Okay, so there you go.
So I used to work with West Virginia DNR, and we would do eagle and waterfowl surveys by helicopter. And so we had an old, crazy, retired state police trooper who would be our helicopter pilot. And he would fly through the area we were surveying and then just bank hard left to go get a closer look or go land in a field because he had to pee somewhere. And then just it was chaotic.
Okay.
I never threw up, but I was feeling it pretty good.
Yeah.
Because helicopters don't move linearly like a plane or a car.
No.
You can be facing forward, but like go backwards and then to the side. All while you're still like, it doesn't make sense. And you're just being held up by some spinning pieces of metal. So, nah.
Flying in general doesn't make sense. So I guess is flying something you'd probably never you see yourself doing in the future? Like, unless you...
I don't personally care to avoid travel. I'm sorry, avoid flying. I don't care to travel.
Okay. So...
Does that answer it? Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why I ask is because I was going to ask you, do you have like a place or just continent or just anywhere you'd like to vacation or travel and where you... Granted, you can take a boat to most of those places, but where you would kind of forego it for a bit to travel there, or would you be like, no, I'm going to take the boat. I'll see you guys in a week or whatever. Like, is there a place that you really want to visit?
No, I'd stay home.
Okay. So you don't have any kind of continents you would like to visit or anything or places?
In the 5 years I lived by myself, I never planned a vacation.
Okay.
I just kept working. So, no.
Yeah, but your dad dragged you on a couple. You guys,
yes, I get drugged to trips. Yes,
okay.
We go down to Gatlinburg and Sevierville, Tennessee, at least once a year. And yes, I get drugged there, but I do not plan them. Mm-hmm. And if they didn't plan it, I wouldn't go.
So, is there anywhere you would go if someone dragged you there, flying wise?
Anywhere if the right person drugged me. Yes.
So, I guess if, if it was somewhere, not just what is it? I'm thinking New Zealand or. Japan, like those are just kind of the quote unquote enthusiast spots just because, hey, for me, I want to go see the Shire and I want to go. New Zealand is just a beautiful place in general. But since I'm going to be there, I'm like, I'm going to go see the Shire or just kind of those places. And then places like Japan, it's just like, hey, this is anime place. In Japan, I know there's way more to you than that. But for me, I am not a speaker. So I'm going to enjoy the things that I know there. Like the Japanese culture is always interested me outside of that. So it's, but I guess it's anywhere like that. Not really.
No, but if the right person asked, I'd go pretty much anywhere.
Okay. You just have no, desire to kind of travel anywhere super far. You're just, you like your home life essentially.
I'd like to be retired and enjoy more of my home life. Yes.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't judge. Like most of the places, anytime I travel, it's because someone's asked me or, like dragged me there or drugged me there. Because, Japanese, New Zealand, those are the places I want to go, and they are for those reasons. And it's just essentially, for me, people like who want to see the world and stuff. I'm like, that's cool, but that's a lot of new people like every day. I don't know if that would be for me. They're like, well, you don't have to talk to everybody. Yeah. But I'm going to stick out. You know what I mean? Like, they know the people who don't belong there, like the Americans or whatever. And that's just anxiety. And unless you plan on me being drunk the whole time, which is not good for anybody.
Or your memory of where you went.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's like, no. They're like, well, so it's just, Yeah, places I want to go, but I'm not a person who's like, I want to see the world. I'm like, I want to see here, and then here and here, maybe, like, so.
I have no interest in seeing anything natural.
Yeah,
and
that's the other thing. Most people want to travel to hot places, and I'm like, yeah, no, I hate the heat as it is. You want me to go on a place where I'm supposed to be relaxing, like Hawaii, Jess is a place, or a place Jess wants to go, and I'm like, I'd go to Hawaii depending, but it's Hawaii's fair because I can wear a muscle shirt and fucking shorts the whole time and just be on the beach. And if I'm sweating, it doesn't matter as much. But just walking around in public and being anxious and it being hot, it's just gonna contribute to me being more sweaty. So that's kind of what it comes down to. But good to know. I guess for you, like, because that's why I said I was trying to have more different questions for everyone, because I know you're not a person like where Liz, she wants to travel, she has traveled, she wants to travel more. I'm like, that's fine. That's why I have to kind of trying to adjust the questions for everybody. It's just like, I got to think of some other ones. For you, what's the, I guess, furthest you've ever driven in one trip, like even if it was over a couple days?
Personally driven,
just road trip
Tennessee and back.
Yeah, would be even road tripped with people or family, I guess. What's the longest stretch?
Okay. Yeah. Then we went from Maryland to the Mississippi River in St. Louis.
Okay.
In a day. It wasn't a day trip. That was more than a day.
I was going to say
that was our longest consecutive trip. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to say it was a 3-day. I want to say it was 3 days.
Oh gosh.
Does that sound right?
Maryland.
We visited a. There's a museum there that has like old mastodon skeletons and stuff.
Okay.
And so we went and we got a stuffed animal for my sister, and then we were picking up a dog, a Gordon Setter that was there's a breeder out there. St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis, sorry. Yeah. So the Mississippi. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We went and saw the arch and picked up the dog and then drove back. But I believe there were 2 overnights. That's why I think it was 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like a day and something there and then a day and something back.
And yeah, you were doing stuff.
So that'd be my furthest trip. But my family in total, which I don't remember the details of, we did a loop that went from Maryland to the west panhandle of Florida through. I actually don't know where we went. But anyway, we went east. No, I'm sorry. We went west of there, and we ended up going to Chicago to the Field Museum.
Mm-hmm.
So we did an entire circuit of the East Coast from the Mississippi to the east. Ended up doing the Field Museum, and then driving to Lake Erie, and then driving back down. So I've been in every state in the East.
Yeah.
But not in one go. And I've also stepped in all of the Great Lakes, but not in one go.
You've been to Florida. I'm sorry, but yeah. The cold.
We actually took an exit to get into it and then drove back out.
Oh, seriously? So it was just like, well, we just passing through. Excuse us.
That was the point of the trip. Yes, we hit all the states we had not been to, and then went to the Field Museum in Chicago. But Florida to Chicago is like as far as you can go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it was a huge trip, but I don't remember most of it. I probably slept. So.
That's actually funny though. That it's just like, all right, let's just swoop in here for about half an hour, and then make our way back out.
There was no other reason to be there, so yeah.
What do you mean?
To be in Florida.
Oh yeah, I suppose
Yeah. What am I gonna do there? Yeah. So I've touched them all on the East, but I've not done something in all of them.
So you've gone because you've gone to New York then, right? Or touched New York, I guess.
Oh yeah, we've been through New York a few times.
Okay.
We also did a trip up to Bar Harbor, Maine, and I've been up to New Hampshire and Vermont to do some hiking fresh out of college.
Okay.
So I've been around a bit, but I don't particularly enjoy travel.
It's like I said, I don't either most of the time. The latest traveling I did was to visit that was last year to surprise my dad for his birthday, his 70th. And that was fun. Like they had to convince me initially, and I don't mean like I didn't want to be there. It was just I had stuff going on. And so we were like, well, fine. We will postpone this and do this later because it was visiting my sister because I hadn't seen my niece yet. But it was like, it's fine. She'll still be there. Like, not to be like, oh, it's whatever. It was just more of my dad only turned 70 once, and it's kind of one of those milestones. So my sisters got on my case, luckily, and I'm glad they did. They're
Good for them.
Yeah, they're like, hey, this would be really important. I'm like, I know it's not that I don't want to go. It's just, I had this other thing. Fucking money is tight. And so it helped me out a little bit. But then they also just convinced me that, like, hey, after I found out they were going and then my aunts and uncles were going, I was like, I cannot be the only son who does not show up. Like, because he has 3 girls and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, loves all his kids equally, but for his son, like his junior, not to show up, I would have felt bad. So it didn't take much convincing. It just, reiterating to me that it was important.
End, so.
Yeah, exactly. Because I still got to visit my niece later. So it's just reiterating, like, hey, this is important. You might want to do this. You don't want. My mom even got on my case. So I was like, whatever, fine.
Good family.
Yeah, you could say that they are. So for your name, like maybe something we should want to RaptorZero034. Do you want to kind of go over a little bit how that came about?
Absolutely. I'm a very straightforward analytical person, so there's no deep meaning in it.
I know.
There was a game called SWAT 4. Mm-hmm. There was a Game of the Year edition for it, where just kind of like Siege, you could create your own operators, but they let you name them. So there was a random name generator, okay. And I clicked random on it until it popped up with Raptor Zero. Now, I don't always get to pick Raptor Zero on platforms.
Yeah.
So actually, my Steam name isn't Raptor Zero. It's got a modifier on the end, which isn't 034. But the 034 came about because of the Halo books, the Spartan names. Spartan 034 is Sam. Okay. And he dies very early on in the Halo universe lore. He's one of the first full Spartans, made it through the training, and he actually sacrificed himself to save the rest of his team. Anyway, how that became relevant was I was reading those books because of a friend of mine in high school who basically got me into gaming.
Mm-hmm.
So like PC gaming. He got me to play Diablo 2. He got me to play a little bit of Halo, but that didn't go anywhere.
Is this Retro or is somebody else?
No, this is a guy named Samuel Sherrard.
Okay.
But because his name was Sam, I'm like, I'll give him a little homage. I'll point out that Sam is a deep thing in my universe at the time. Mm-hmm. So he was a lot of the people I'd bounce theories off of and gaming strategy and talking about Half-Life. And he was also reading the Dark Tower books by Stephen King at the time. So I started reading those, and they're my absolute favorite books of all time. So he was really influential in forming me as a geek. Okay. So when I got to pick a name that wasn't Raptor Zero, I started putting 034 on the end of it as a Sam reference. Okay. Because that's got to stick to my roots, got to know where I came from. So, but also Sam is he was a really good, heroic, knowledgeable character. And it would not hurt me to try to implement some of those traits from time to time. So
no, that's
I try to play light side Jedi and all that stuff. So it is deep, but it makes complete sense. So so the 034 is in reference to Sam.
The ending part. Yeah, that's pretty cool though, because I feel most people have somewhat of a story. Some people like you're just like, yeah, it was the name that was available, or it's the name that the generator picked, and more often than not, it's the other one but. I know it's funny because you have older names where I think for PlayStation, my PlayStation account for the longest was like Dark Dragon, and I was like, that didn't really have any meaning besides what it was the hell is it called? Yu Yu Hakusho, because I didn't put I didn't put Dragon of the Darkness Flame. I just put there you go. So exactly. I just put Dark Dragon, and then you can't put that because someone else is taken, so you got to put numbers. Exactly. And I think the number was just literally my football number because I played football for a year. But I was like, it's what I'll remember.
Sense. Exactly. Yep.
So no, just stuff.
And I didn't create the name to go online. SWAT was offline only.
Yeah.
So I stuck with it when they asked me. So
but it becomes, not your persona, but more so your online identity, because after a while we all essentially call each other by those names. It's funny because Liz is the only one who decided to use a kind of version of her name.
Part of her name, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, that's fine. For you, clever, it's easier. Yeah, for you, it's easier to see in public because I won't be like, hey, Raptor. They're like, what? Or
which would be fine. Yeah, I could have been worse.
Yeah. Well, everyone's all like, "What? So I'm supposed to call him Mr. Black in public?" I'm like,
Yes.
"Yeah, go. Yeah, so I don't care."
Yes, I probably will.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you at this point. Any kind of place we'd be, they'd probably get it. Like, oh, it's probably just his online name. But yeah.
Yep.
Whereas, well, it's funny because we have a person who hates being called by her real name by anybody who isn't her brother. But when her brother calls her her fake name, she gets mad too. So it's like,
Yep.
it's Demi. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, he'll call her by her online name and she'll get all pissy about it. And I'm like, don't call me that. But then we'll call her by her real name and she'll get all pissy because it's
Can't
just,
win there.
yeah, well, it's established like the kind of relationship you have with the person. But the fact that it freaks her out so much, everyone kind of messes with her about it every once in a while, as
Because
anyone should.
yeah.
Because it does, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I've never seen such a reaction to just, yeah. And he does
The name
it.
that you chose, right?
Yeah, yeah, and he does it just because he knows he'll get a reaction out of her, and I love it because it's just hilarious. But anyway, um, so for this, I think we're kind of towards the end. Before I had random questions for Liz, but I didn't think that'd work as well for you. I didn't know if you joined. I just had like random like this or that. But I guess one of them, well, not one of them, but one of them we could turn it not to this or that question. But you are not a typically an animal. Well, shouldn't you're not an animal person. You don't have animals of your own. Your
No.
family has dogs, or your dad has dogs that you occasionally, help with and stuff. But have you ever imagined yourself having a pet if you were, either by yourself or, had a partner or whatever, or had a lady or something like that?
Sure. For years, up into high school even, I had a few leopard geckos, a little corn snake, and then some. I think they're fire belly toads. I think they're called.
Yeah.
So I kept the amphibians. I tried to raise tadpoles for a while because I was doing herpetology stuff at the time. After that all ended, though, no, I didn't have any more pets. Yes, I've often thought about trying to get a larger breed dog, something like a flat coat retriever or something.
Okay.
Because Retro's family's had them for years, and they've always been the best dogs.
Yeah.
Like, they're huge, right? But they're just part of the family. It's like,
Yeah.
it takes no extra effort to have them around. They're super fun when you want to play with them, but like, they don't bug you.
Oh, they're chill otherwise.
You just want to watch TV or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, you're like, go lay down. They just go lay down. Like, they just go do their own thing. It's wonderful. Okay. So yes, I'm definitely a big breed dog person, and definitely dogs over cats. So
yeah, I know you're. Yeah. I tempted to throw a Merlin question in there for Sakipa eventually if she does this, just because I want to see if she has like a visceral reaction. Merlin is not my cat. Merlin, well, I have a cat named Merlin who is the best, but we have a person in the server who has a cat named Merlin, and Sakipa has a like just disgust for this animal, and she's never met it. It's just the way the owner has raised them. So
lack of raising.
Yeah. The cat's in charge essentially all the time.
The cat owns the person.
And people say, "Oh, the cats are always in charge." This is a bit extreme. Trust me. We'll get a clipping of it one time. Just
oh boy.
But have you ever watched any of Sakipa's? Because she has a bunch of Overwatch funnies that she'll, or just game funnies, but a lot of Overwatch funnies that she'll compile of us playing the game, and it's always in the background. Well, Demi yelling at Merlin, or they joked about putting a Merlin counter at some point. How many times Merlin gets said, or how many times gets screamed?
Yeah,
that's how bad it is. Anywho, so going from that, do you have a? I know you are not exactly very adventurous with food, but do you have a favorite food or a favorite place you like to go? And yeah, just
yes.
Mm-hmm.
I went almost, and this is not almost though, 300 days eating nothing but chicken and rice with some teriyaki sauce.
Yeah.
And some of those days were more than once a day. Mm-hmm. So I think it's probably pretty safe to say that I enjoy either brown or white rice with chicken and some teriyaki sauce. So yes, if I had a dream meal though or something, it actually doesn't exist anymore. Because the Chinese restaurant that used to be at my local mall, it's called D&D Buffet, which is now dead. They had a thing called bourbon chicken, which was little strips of chicken in a like smoky is the only way I can think to call it, a smoky brown sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did white rice, the bourbon chicken with the sauce, and crab rangoons. And I would do like 10 rangoons a meal, 2 plates of rice, and as much chicken as I could throw on there. And it was the most perfect meal on the planet.
Okay.
It does not exist anymore, and I've tried to recreate it. I've tried to look up recipes. I cannot find anything that captures whatever they had in it that made it taste smoky.
Okay, so it's
but
just
that would be it.
The one that got away, or you've had it, but
don't worry, I ate a lot of it when it existed.
Okay, that's good. So it wasn't just like you had it this one time and you're like forever been like,
no,
I gotta get that again. That's fair.
No, I had it basically for 4.5 years, as often as possible.
Fair. So with all of this kind of, I know we've gone all over the place. We've deep dived into a couple different things, but basically this was to get to know you a little bit more, see where your kind of perspectives and your answers may come from. And while we touched on that a little bit, I'm going to be a bit more specific and a bit more direct here. And again, like I told you before, anything you don't want to answer, I doubt there's very much, but feel free to just say pass. I know. But for you, I guess, what makes you interested in the game? Like, so what makes you say, hey, I'll play this game if it's like for 2 categories. 1, if it's a single player game that you're going to play by yourself, or 2, if it's a multiplayer game. And we went into that a little bit. Like, what would make you say, hey, I'm going to pick this game up, aside from I saw people playing for a year already, and so I decided I'll try it. Like, just if it wasn't for the flakiness of some of us, like just all of us in general, if it was just, hey, I like this game, what would make you be like, hey, I want to pick up that game when you first saw it?
Interesting question. I've been a little bit of a loyalist for brands. So Mass Effect, Elder Scrolls, Dragon Age, the From Software line of games. Like I tend to latch onto something and stick with it, but I'm only ever introduced to them by seeing somebody else play it first.
Okay.
So I didn't even know Morrowind existed until Retro told me. I didn't know Mass Effect existed until he bought it for Xbox 360. I didn't know about Oblivion until my cousin bought it for 360. So like I'm introduced to things which other people do. I don't actively look up other games for myself. So what would catch my eye?
Yeah, so let's start with let's go with single player first. Okay. What about a single player game? And that's a very fair assessment of what you're saying, though, is that it has to be something you've seen, or like maybe someone threw you a trailer like, hey, this looks like a cool game. But if it was just you and you were just like, hey, I need a new game to play, would it be purely recommendations, or would you be like, hey, I want a game that has, this, and this, that being a combat system that revolves around parrying or blocking, because a la Dark Souls and Bloodborne and stuff? Or would it be just, it's graphically based, like, hey, this looks like a cool graphic game, and it looks like it has a cool story? I know that's these are broad things, but just more so, why would you pick up a game outside of I saw it being played once?
Okay. I'll refer back to a previous answer, actually. Ghost Runner is a game I'd never heard of. Nobody had ever talked to me about it. I'd never seen any gameplay for it. And I picked it up purely based off of the Steam store because of everything you just listed. It is skill-based reactions. Okay. It's platforming. It's puzzle solving. But it's also got the FPS aspect. And so it's character development based on my skill acquisition. It's me choosing how to solve the puzzle. It's extremely fast-paced reactions, but also the graphics are top-notch.
So was this based on like a trailer, or was this the game description, or a combination of both, kind of, when you were looking at it?
I don't even know how it came across my screen.
Okay, then that's why I was curious.
But the reason that I went with it was the description. Watching the little Steam page trailer with the description is what sold me on it. Yes.
Okay.
It is exactly branded for what it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, that's any game. When you're looking at it, you're not just gonna be like, "Hey, this is a FPS game." Buy without actually. Well, most people wouldn't without seeing some kind of gameplay or trailer, like, which has gameplay. You want to see how the game actually plays. You're not just gonna be like, based on a name, I'm gonna buy this game. Right. That's what responsible people
for instance,
do.
Fallout 4. Yeah. I played 3 in New Vegas, but I've never played 4. I've never had an interest in playing 4. I own it. Don't get me wrong. it was on sale at some point, but
Steam, yeah.
I've never had the urge to download and play it because it's gonna play exactly like 3 in New Vegas. Do I really need more of that? I don't know.
So do you find the game stories less important than the other things that you listed, like the way it plays and mechanics? Like a story maybe is just a byproduct for you, or
Bloodborne actually kind of changed my opinion on that.
okay.
The Elder Scrolls games have always been interesting lore-wise, but I've never sought out every book in Morrowind to read it.
Yeah.
I've never tried talking to every NPC's line of dialogue to figure out everything that was happening. And even Elder Scrolls Online, where it's expanded, even more than ever. I've never really played it for the dialogue like that.
Yeah.
Bloodborne, however, its story is so vague but detailed at the same time that somebody can read all the same descriptions as me and come up with a completely different opinion of what's happening. And that is so cool because it's led to like a decade at this point. I think almost 2015, I think. Anyway, we're getting close.
Close to.
Yes. Almost 10 years worth of lore diving that people still can't decide even what you accomplished just by finishing the game. What was the point? What did you do? And there's still people who can't answer that. And that's so cool. Just up to interpretation. So that kind of story gripped me. Okay. I'm completely engrossed in it.
Okay.
However, a game like Ghost Runner has almost no story. Or some of the puzzle platformer games that Liz and I play.
Yeah.
The story's there, but it's not deep. It's very surface level, but the puzzles are what keep it.
Yeah.
So the quality of a game can carry it, but it's not. I wouldn't buy only for the story. No. The Mass Effect and Andromeda are a good example. The trilogy is a really good story. The gameplay is tight, solid.
Yeah.
Andromeda, however, I played it for longer than I'd ever played any of the trilogy in one go because of the amount of content. But the gameplay is not as good, in my opinion, and the story is not as good, in my opinion. So,
yeah.
Am I willing to do something superficially similar? Yes.
Okay.
Does it have to be top notch? No, but I will complain about it.
Oh, absolutely. So you make a purchase, you're allowed to complain about it.
And I will. Yeah. But so I think in general, I would rather have crisp mechanics. The story is nice, but I've come to realize that majority of things produced do not have a good story. So if I get a good story, I'll enjoy it.
I feel like it's less and less these days. Like, so at one point, it might have been a bit more, and I'm not saying it was always like, oh, this was the golden age of storytelling back here. But it just feels like, it just feels like nowadays it is focused on the mechanics or just the cosmetics. We won't go into it, but just like catching people's attention with like, hey, this shiny piece of thing or whatever, or hey, this cool kind of way to play. And then the story's kind of secondary, and that's where a lot of the Call of Duty started to go after a while, where they didn't even care about the single-player game at some point. They were just like, multiplayer, that's fine. And again,
because people will do repetition, like you said.
Yeah.
You'll play the same thing over and over again, the same CS maps, the same Valorant maps, over and over and over again, and the story doesn't matter. Who that operator is matters.
And people will do it for hundreds of hours, and like whereas they'll only play the game a couple times, but for between 5 to 15 hours, maybe, depending on the game. And that's it. The game gets put away. Whereas they're like, well, if we can get these people are literally playing these online games that were just kind of asides from what we did with the originals, and they're doing it for hundreds of hours. I mean, they're like, well, why not just offer them pretty shiny stuff and get them to keep playing? And
have you ever examined the story of Fallout 3?
No. Because
the story of Fallout 3 is you follow your dad who does all the most important things in the game. You are literally spending the entirety of the game trying to catch up to your father who is saving the wasteland by purifying the water. And in the end, he makes the heroic sacrifice. Spoilers, by the way. He makes the heroic sacrifice to kill himself in order to provide fresh water for the whole wasteland. So you're just an observer. You just follow the hero of the story.
It's very noble of him, I guess.
But he could have done that if I never left the vault. I'm irrelevant to the story. In fact, the only people who you choose a side against, if you talk to them, they just leave the room. It's not even like in a skill check. Like, it's so dumb. Anyway.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's
if that's a AAA title, though, like...
Yeah.
this is a high budget, and if you listen to the like IGN and other reviews at the time, they talk about the gaming systems coming out of like Elder Scrolls, where you get to make moral choices.
Yeah.
And the biggest moral choice in Fallout 3 is whether or not to blow up the nuke in Megaton and kill innocent people.
Yeah,
choosing whether or not to do that is the largest moral, and nothing happens as a result, by the way.
I remember that
some people who have quests survive because they could turn into mutants, so you can continue the quest.
I remember that being a thing. The moral implications of things, because you were very vexed when we were playing Elder Scrolls Online and they were making you steal from people, and you're like, this is not my character. My character doesn't steal. You're lawful good, right? Yeah, you're lawful good, essentially, right? Is what you typically play.
I do try.
Yeah, when you can. And that the fact that they literally made you fucking steal,
you can't progress.
You're like, I can't. What do you mean I can't progress the game unless I steal? I don't steal.
It's so funny. I played all of Morrowind, never stealing a thing.
Yeah.
Oblivion like hamstrings you if you don't steal stuff. So in Oblivion and Skyrim, you kind of have to steal.
Yeah, they're like, so none of that.
They went all in. Yeah, you have to steal now.
It is kind of odd that they did that instead of giving it like, well, just be upfront and you just have to be super leveled or something and take on this person if you don't want to steal.
Even if it takes more skill, right, that's fine.
Yeah.
KOTOR, actually, the Knights of the Old Republic original game, did a far better choice with morals and choices.
Yeah.
And even Fable, which is an excellent game, Fable Anniversary especially, because they remastered it. Your choices actually make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it not only affects what you look like, but how people treat you and the ends of the game. It changes things. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know how the AAA titles can't learn this very simple thing.
So
Mass Effect destroys your choices in the end. After going through a trilogy of choices, they make you choose 3 colors. You get a choice between the same 3 colors, whether you made every choice or no choices.
So what? I can't remember. I think you said you never played them because they were on PlayStation, but Infamous Second Son does something similar where you are given a choice like throughout the game if you're ever really bored and it's on sale. Because I have it, and it's the one where you get different kind of powers throughout of it, but it does have the system where by the end it's you've made a choice. Like, so the choices you make throughout it do have implications on how it affects the end of the game. I can't say vastly because I only chose one side initially, but basically it does like, oh, okay, you decided to have this character do this at this point or this character do that. And they either come back later and kind of mirror or, basically the choices you made for them, they kind of affect how they interact with you or help you later on. So, but no, that's as you can see.
No, I never did try it.
Yeah, it's one of those that I kind of always look to see if it's going to be on Steam, but it never is because it is a PlayStation game. Right. I think the Infamous games eventually came, but I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. But that's kind of the gist of this interview, though. Like, that's what I was trying to get to. Just as you can see, you were very analytical and a very just person who you want to be able to make decisions. Like, so for you, you're typically the lawful good, like I said. So it's like you want to play the game by a certain set of rules that, you've set for yourself throughout it, and it is that lawful good. And when they make you choose against it, it's frustrating. You still play through them, but I don't think you've ever stopped a game because I hope not. Like, nope, I won't do it. But
I don't think so. But again, like, I would rather play a game where I can make choices than a set character.
Yeah,
does that make sense? I think so. But
so we did forget the other side of what would make you kind of interested, or I guess more interested in the multiplayer games. Is it just which friends are playing or what kind of game it is? Because we had a little bit where we had the battle royales, and those are what me and you play mostly these days, mostly because of internet, partially because it doesn't require investment in people, me and myself too, flaking on you. So you're like, okay, I put no time into this. So if I play for now, I won't be pissed off later. But is it just you prefer the Battle Royale shooters? Do you prefer games? Because there was also Spellbound or Spellbreak, where it was a Battle Royale, but it wasn't a shooter. It was a shooter in the sense that you had magic. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so I guess what draws you to certain just multiplayer online games, let's say?
I have basically never played a battle royale by myself.
Yeah.
It has happened, but not for any length of time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just log into PUBG and play by myself. I didn't log into Spellbreak and just play.
Yeah.
I didn't log into any of it, but I did log into Tarkov. I did log into Siege. So, like, I think the battle royale format doesn't interest me as a solo player.
So it's just more
I think it's only the team aspect.
Team friend aspect, like, hey, here's something I play with friends, or just, hey, it's a game that looks fun, and there's that instant reward maybe, because especially with battle royales, it's, you play for, 10, 20 minutes, and you either get, you're a legend for Apex Legends or chicken dinner. Yeah, or you're dead. And it's teams are just better, you know what I mean? Like teams that because when you go into those and you're playing solo, it's either you get decent people, you guys just fail, or it feels like you get shit people who are toxic against you. Yes, there are times where you get good teammates. Like I've had a couple where I had an excellent team, and then they sent me an invite after. I'm like, oh, awesome. But I guess is it just the draw of being able to work together or communication?
Yeah, I'm definitely a cooperative person.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really seen myself as the carry. I've only seen myself as contributing to a group effort.
Yeah, he's so even like carry.
I'm not, though. That's the funny thing. You seem to think so, but more often than not, I'll do a lot of damage and you'll clean up and you'll have to res me. You know how many times you've res me versus me clutching?
But you've done the damage. That's the only way I was able to clutch.
But the damage is all I do. That's right. That's my contribution. I don't play solo.
That's more unlucky. Everybody will survive. That's more unlucky.
I'm unlucky.
Because you do all the damage, and I feel like you have these where you take it on 2 people in a team, and it just so happens that either when we're playing trios, the third's there, or you just get killed by another team, or it's just they get lucky, essentially, because you've done 400 damage. Like either both people are dead, and you're like, okay, you're going to go res me, and then here comes another team, and you're like, well, we're dead. And I think we all underestimate ourselves, but I see it as more so I appreciate everyone's consistency more than anything, because I have moments, but it's frustrating to me because I know what I'm capable of in one instance, and then yesterday I was like, I'm gonna lose this, like, and there's 5 seconds, like there's still 5 more seconds of me fighting this other guy,
and you did,
and I lost because I was like, I'm not hitting anything. Like I know I've broken his shield, like Apex there's a shield system, but I know based on how I'm performing in that moment that this man is going to kill me. And
she had like 15 health, by the way.
It was but I knew because I was like, this gun's going to run out of bullets, and it's not the kind of gun that's for these up close fights, and I'm going to fucking lose. So it's just, we all have those moments.
But you are at least 51% likely to beat that one-on-one. Because me in a 1-on-1 like almost always loses.
Because
so I can't play solo.
You insist on getting close to the people with a shotgun, and I'm like, just back up. You're like, no. If I hit closer, I hit them more.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's not the way.
So again, that's why I can't play solo. Yeah. It'll just be 7 minutes of me losing every first engagement.
Yeah.
Whereas you, with all your contributions and clutchiness, if I can at least do enough before I go down, we can win. Because it's very rare that we get into a fight and I say I've knocked one before you start fighting, right?
Yeah.
The opposite does happen though. Like the other day with the grenade.
Yeah.
You will say knocked one and I don't even know the fight has happened yet. And so I don't feel that I'm a carry. I think I am an abuser of advantages.
That's fair.
I think I can do a lot of damage, but it costs to myself.
Yeah.
I'll get everybody low knowing you'll go rush in.
That's funny though, because I'm like, I'm not for the other ones. Where are you? And you're like at the top of the hill still, and I'm like he didn't know. He was it's fine. I just
they should have been running at us.
Yeah, it was like when I knocked one of these. So,
but see, you could have probably clutched that yourself in the 1-on-1. You would have had that guy dead.
Yeah,
I would not have though. So. I am built for team play only.
We've all had good moments, yourself included, but I appreciate the candidness. But so
I might have had 11 kills yesterday, but I would have killed none of them by myself.
Yeah, I had 0, but I had only 200 less damage. I'm like, this bitch stole all my kills.
Because that's what I'm good at. I take advantage.
It's gonna post this, and to be fair, I only got credit for assistance on 5 or 6 of them. So, but anyway,
really?
Yeah, I think so. But with all that said, like I kind of like deviated from the original question of what would make you play that or pick a game or pick up a game based on that. Is it just being able to play with friends or just certain games that you?
Um, the mechanics is what would draw me in, and whatever that is. Like,
no, that's very
Hollow Knight is a great example of a platformer
mm-hmm.
executed well.
Yeah.
Destiny, satisfying gunplay, but I wouldn't have picked up Destiny unless you would ask me to play it.
Yeah, anytime I play other games, I just always like, that's my problem mentally. I can't switch like other people can, so I'll play Destiny for hours, be used to it, yeah, like hitting shots and everything, but then I'll go play a different game. And hours later, I'll still be my brain's still trying to adjust to the fact that it's not Destiny. The gunplay is not the same. Like, I can't just hold on the head, whether it be with a pistol or a hand cannon and just like, two tap a person. The guns behave differently, and making the switch, like, some days it's fine. More days than not, it takes way too long for me to adjust, and that's why I'm always like, I gotta stop playing all these games. There's too many shooters. But
that's why I don't tend to play FPSs single player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I own the Halo Master Chief Collection, but I've never installed it.
So
the games I tend to gravitate towards are hack and slash or platformer.
Love hack and slash
on my own.
So then the answer kind of is it's based on just gameplay, but also if it's a multiplayer, it's based on if you can get people, depending on the kind of multiplayer, to kind of play with you, right? I guess because it was similar to Rainbow Six. You played that by yourself for a little bit, and people did pick it up, and then I forget why we all stopped playing. It was just kind of, I don't remember. Was it when you were moving or not?
I moved and lost internet for a year.
Yeah, I think that's kind of around when it was.
But I then wasn't able to play it here. So.
Yeah. Well, no, and I mean, but that's kind of when everyone stopped playing for the most part, because we were playing somewhat consistently. It wasn't nearly as much as when we started, but yeah. But no, I think that kind of wraps it up for this one. Like I said, I probably have more questions on pieces of paper in different notebooks that I wrote somewhere. And I apologize for that. That's just me literally I took down my table. It's not an excuse. It's just what happened. And there was a notebook there that I can't find. And I should have been better about it.
It's fine.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. Anyway, but no, I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you sitting through with me with my technical difficulties and my brain fart of forgetting that I didn't ever have two cameras running at once. And that's probably why it was telling me, and you pointed out that, why don't you just screen record the Discord call? Oh, because that's what I always did. And it's just the source being there that threw me off. I'm like, well, it's right there. Why am I not using it? So anyway.
I've been saying this at work a lot lately. I am best in a think tank where I propose a lot of possibilities and then the experts actually solve it.
Yeah.
So I just proposed a possibility to you and you made it work.
And I was like just in that moment, I was like, yeah, because why would I have an extra camera up at the same time I'm recording the screen with both of our faces? It's fine. I only wasted 30 minutes of our time. It doesn't matter. The sound was still fucked up.
Doesn't matter. Oh yeah, audio is terrible.
Audio is terrible. Me and Raptor both can attest to this. We've both been through our woes, and yeah, we both hate it. So,
very much so.
if you can ever hire anyone to do your audio setup, if you want it to be like crisp and pristine, I'd say do it, because it's worth the time. It's worth saving that amount of time. Trust. But no, man. Until
there's an update, at least.
Oh, the updates. So, this is a little riffing at the end. I don't understand why programs are insistent. I don't know if it's just because they have to, on just changing settings when they update. It's like, clearly I had it the way I wanted it. If I wanted anything changed, I'll do it. Don't fucking touch my settings once I've saved a profile. If it's like default or something, if it's still on default, fine, update it. But if I have adjusted anything, do not fucking touch it. I will come.
Why can't you make an update that just imports the settings?
Please? Yeah, because it's the ones, where it's like, well, we'll have to uninstall and reinstall. I'm like, okay, just deep breath.
Honestly, it would be worth the effort of making an account and saving your settings online, so they would know what your settings were. It'd be worth it.
Yeah. So, no.
I don't think I even offer that, but it'd be worth it.
They don't, but it's just, one of those things where anytime I have to do any sound adjustments, I think people think I'm exaggerating when I say it's difficult. It's depending on your audio setup, if you just have a mic and just like, headphones, you're fine. But the problem with that is when you're doing something like this, there's background noises, there's hums, there's all this stuff that mics tend to pick up if you use it at its default or, just the sensitivity of it. And so you get other programs, you get like this kind of mic where it's not a condenser, it's not dynamic. I can't remember. I think it's dynamic, but anyway, you get them when they have the programs that let you adjust all the levels. And it helps vastly, but the problem is if you get it off by a little bit, it's either you inserted a hum into the background or you've inserted like the fan or something from your computer. It's a nightmare. And then trying to get other people's voices perfect too, in addition to if you have a podcast. That's why I think professional podcasts, they do the stuff where they have the audio mixer, like the large board where everyone's mic, especially when it's in person, like everyone's mic is set up for them. You know what I mean? It's set up specifically. And Discord kind of lets you do that, which I appreciate when we're doing that, is I can adjust everyone's levels individually and I can adjust the chat's level, yada, yada. But audio is a nightmare because it's never the same. Your environment changes, it picks up something else. Or you forget to actually import or unmute it or something. You're fucked. Liz had that happen when we were recording, as anyone who's watched the Overwatch podcast, and it was literally me making her start over because I forgot to, or I muted her mic by mistake. So anyway, again, Raptor, like I said, thank you for doing this. Hopefully we will have a couple podcasts set up. I'm actually going to throw out a schedule, hopefully by the end of the day. So thank you everyone, for anyone who stuck with us for the full hour plus. I might cut out some of my rambling at the beginning, but no, hopefully everyone enjoyed this. Hopefully you got a little bit more insight to who he is just based on some of his answers and his straightforward answers. So nope, thank you very much, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.